I can hear you fine. Shaun, first of all, I suppose when you look at Wigan versus Reading, people will look at it and say a mouth-watering tie in years gone by. And I suppose, can you really take anything even from your two encounters last year, or is there so much change between both clubs? Is it a new game, dare I say, for both clubs this weekend, given that such has been the change in terms of personnel since you last played in the Championship?
I think there's been so much change. There's been too much change in terms of players. I know they've changed the manager. Apart from the captain, maybe Aziz, they're the ones that probably are still there. They're actually probably their best players. I know they've got some talent through the team, but that right side is the strongest side. When I watched them against Oxford, the right back, and in fairness, Aziz was very, very good. So apart from those two, I don't think there's much between the two squads. So even with us, apart from some of our younger players, I don't think there'll be many players that will have played in either game. So it does feel, and I hadn't really thought about what happened last year. It's just two separate, two completely different teams, and it's a big club, really, really nice stadium, training ground. They've massive investment, so yeah, it's a big club down there.
And I suppose when you look at the locker room of Wigan, the dressing room at the moment, one of the things as a manager, a sort of young professional manager as yourself, in terms of your football managing career, as a very vast player, we all know about your career at Glasgow Celtic, Shaun. But I'm just sort of wondering, how good is it to have the experience of a player now in his latter years, but has meant so much to the past in terms of Wigan, and Callum McManaman? Do you still sort of rely on his prowess, his knowledge, even for the youngsters in terms of within? Is he such a vital cog in Wigan's sort of squad in terms of his DNA? And do you sort of lean on him at times in terms of expectations and demands?
Do you know, it's a really good question, and probably there's a bit to it. I think there's one thing that him on the pitch is, I've relied heavily on him having big impacts, particularly off the bench recently, and he's been. Callum's probably in as good a place as I've seen him for a long time, like many years really. He now seems to have that sharpness back, that 1v1 skill, where I felt that watching him in previous years, even at Tranmere, even when he was in Australia, I watched some of his clips, he didn't have that confidence to almost fail. I think as a wide player or creative player, you have to have a certain degree of confidence that your manager is okay with you having certain dribbles or moments where you fail on the pitch. And what's been a big surprise and a big bonus is off the pitch. So Callum obviously was retired for about 8 or 9 months, came back with us, but came straight to the 21s. So he trained with 21s for about 8 weeks. And as it's transpired, probably 5 or 6 of those players are now with the first team. So he managed to create a connection with them. And it's a big bonus. He's actually been really good off the pitch, in a really quiet way. He sort of led the younger players. He's always trains incredibly hard. Trains incredibly hard in the gym. He's almost like, without me asking or saying, he basically delivers on the values and behaviours that I want. But he does it in a very quiet way, and that's been a big bonus. I didn't expect that. I think anyone that knew Callum from a younger age might not have expected him to be such a good role model. But he's a big credit to him, and I know he's got a young family that he's turned into that man, really.
Shaun, best of luck against Reading at the weekend.
No problem. Thanks very much. Cheers for your question.
Cheers, Jim. Thanks, mate.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Back on.